Okay, so have you ever felt like just trying to stay on top of all the comings and goings in the football transfer market is like a full-time job in itself?
I know what you mean. It can feel like you need a whole scouting department just to sift through it all.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why we do these deep dives, right? To bring you the most important stuff, the things that are actually going to make a difference.
That's the idea, to give you that clear understanding of the really significant moves, the ones that could shake things up a bit.
And we don't just rely on one or two sources for these deep dives, do we? We cast the net pretty wide.
We do. We've got reports coming in from Sky Sports, iSport, Yahoo, you name it, Football Insider, The Mirror, Team Talk, Tata Mercado, The Telegraph Record. We take them all into consideration.
So yeah, we really do try to get a complete picture, a 360-degree view of all the rumors, all the speculation, so we can separate the noise from the genuine signals.
To give you those aha moments where you realize why a certain move makes sense or how it could completely change a team's fortunes.
Exactly. So for today's deep dive, we're focusing on some of the biggest transfer stories circulating around Europe right now, with a particular focus on the Premier League. We'll be looking at potential moves involving Tottenham, Everton, Manchester United, Arsenal, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Ajax, Atalanta, Aston Villa, Barcelona, Sporting Lisbon, and Crystal Palace.
Sounds like we've got our work cut out for us then.
We do, but that's why we're here, right? To break it all down so you don't have to. So let's kick things off with a look at Tottenham Hotspur and a story that's caught the attention of a lot of fans.
Right. Well, Sky Sports are reporting that Atletico Madrid are showing a strong interest in Tottenham's Christian Romero.
Okay, so we're talking about the 26-year-old Argentinian central defender. He's become a real key player for them, hasn't he?
He has Romero's known for that really aggressive front foot style of defending, which fits perfectly with how Postecoglou wants his team to play that high line, putting pressure on the opposition.
Yeah, you can really see how important he is to their whole defensive setup. If he were to leave, I mean, it wouldn't just leave a gap, it would potentially force them to change their entire approach.
Exactly. It's not just about finding a replacement. It's about finding someone who can slot into that specific role and perform at the same level. And that's not easy to do.
It's no easy task, and for Spurs fans, this has to be a worry, right? They've seen how crucial Romero's been to their recent success, that solidity. He brings that leadership at the back.
And from Atletico Madrid's perspective, it makes sense as well. They're clearly looking for a dominant central defender, someone who can organize the back line, someone with international experience.
So if this move were to actually happen, it would have huge ramifications for both clubs, wouldn't it?
No doubt about it. It would raise some serious questions about Tottenham's defensive stability, and it would give Atletico Madrid a real boost in a crucial area of the pitch.
It's definitely one to watch as we head towards the transfer window. So moving on, let's head over to Merseyside and Everton, where it seems they're trying to hold on to one of their most exciting young talents.
This is according to iSport. They're reporting that Everton are preparing to offer a new contract to their 22-year-old England defender, Jared Branthwaite.
Okay, so he's a young center back, a lot of potential, still clearly highly rated by the club if they're looking to tie him down to a new deal.
It's a real statement of intent from Everton, isn't it? They're saying, we believe in this player. We see him as a big part of our future.
It's about building for the future and showing ambition, and I guess it's also a way of fending off interest from other clubs, isn't it?
Exactly. They know that if he continues to develop, he's going to attract attention from elsewhere, so they want to make sure they've got him locked down.
So that brings us nicely to Manchester United, who are also said to be interested in Jared Branthwaite, but with a bit of a catch.
Yeah, Yahoo are reporting that United will only make a move for Branthwaite if they manage to offload Harry Maguire first.
So Maguire, the 32-year-old England center back, he's had a bit of a mixed time at Old Trafford, hasn't he?
He has. And it seems like United might be ready to move on if the right offer comes in. And that could open the door for a younger player like Branthwaite to come in.
It shows you how these transfers can often be linked, doesn't it? One move depending on another.
It's all part of the game, trying to balance the books, manage the squad size, and make sure you're bringing in the right players at the right time.
It's a complex puzzle for sure. And while we're on the subject of Manchester United, they've also been linked with a couple of attacking players, haven't they?
They have. Tata Mercado over in Italy are reporting that Atalanta have slapped a £50 million price tag on their 27-year-old forward Ademola Lookman.
Wow, $50 million, that's a pretty hefty fee.
It is, and it shows how highly Atalanta rating, but both Manchester United and Newcastle are said to be interested, so there could be a real battle for his signature.
I mean, Lookman's got a good track record, hasn't he? He's direct, he's creative, he can score goals. He could be a real asset to either team.
He could. And both United and Newcastle would need to carefully consider how he fits into their current setup and whether that price tag is justified.
And then there's Francisco Trincao, the 25-year-old Portuguese winger from Sporting Lisbon. He's been linked with Manchester United, Arsenal, and Newcastle, according to record.
And what makes him an interesting case is that Barcelona had a buyback clause on him, but it expired in June, so now he's a free agent in a sense.
So that removes a potential obstacle, doesn't it? It makes him a much more straightforward target for those Premier League clubs.
It does, and the fact that 3 big clubs are interested suggests that he's got something special to offer. He's technically gifted, good on the ball, and could fit into a variety of systems.
So it raises the question, doesn't it? How would Lookman or Trincao fit into Manchester United's plans, or Newcastle's for that matter?
Well, United have been crying out for more consistent attacking threat, haven't they?
Yeah.
Someone who can unlock defenses, someone who can create chances and score goals.
And Newcastle, they've got some great attacking players already, but they're also looking to build a squad capable of competing on multiple fronts.
So maybe they see Lookman as that cutting edge, that direct threat, and Trincao as more of a playmaker, someone who can link up the play and provide those killer passes.
It'll be fascinating to see how it all plays out. Anyway, let's shift our focus now to Arsenal and their defensive situation.
All right, well, Football Insider are reporting that Arsenal are planning to offer Gabriel a new contract, their 27-year-old Brazilian center back.
So he's become a real mainstay in their defense, hasn't he? Alongside William Saliba, they've formed a formidable partnership.
They have, and this new contract offer seems to be a way for Arsenal to ward off interest from Saudi Arabian clubs who are really splashing the cash these days.
Yeah, we've seen a number of high-profile players making the move to Saudi Arabia, and it's clear that Arsenal are keen to keep hold of their key assets.
Gabriel's been a rock at the back for them, and losing him would be a blow, especially with the interest that's also being shown in his partner William Saliba.
Yes. The Mirror are reporting that Real Madrid are keeping tabs on Saliba.
Now that's a big one. Real Madrid, they don't tend to mess around, do they? When they come calling, it's usually for a very specific reason.
And Saliba's performances for Arsenal have been outstanding, haven't they? He's composed, he's strong, he reads the game well. He's got all the attributes to be a top-class defender.
And at 24 years old, he's got his best years ahead of him. So it's no surprise that Real Madrid are sniffing around.
But Arsenal won't give him up without a fight, will they? They'll be determined to keep hold of him and build their future around him.
They will. But when a club like Real Madrid comes calling it, it can be hard to resist, can't it?
It's a real dilemma for any player, and for Arsenal, it just adds another layer of complexity to their defensive considerations.
And speaking of defensive considerations, Team Talk are reporting that they've joined Liverpool in the race to sign Jorel Hato.
So Hato is a 19-year-old Dutch defender currently playing for Ajax, a real prospect for the future by all accounts.
He is, and the fact that both Arsenal and Liverpool are interested speaks volumes about his potential. They clearly see him as someone who could develop into a top-level defender.
So it's a bit of a tug of war then between two of the Premier League's biggest clubs for a young talent who could be a star of the future.
It is, and for Arsenal, it's a case of trying to plan ahead, isn't it? They've got to think about who's going to be their next generation of defenders.
And they'll be aware that Hato is likely to have a lot of other suitors as well, so they'll need to move quickly if they're serious about signing him.
Competition is fierce in the transfer market. And these young talents, they get snapped up pretty quickly these days.
It's all about identifying the right players early and then convincing them that your club is the best place for them to develop.
Exactly. It's a long-term game, and Arsenal seem to be playing it well. Anyway, let's move on now to Aston Villa and a bit of contract news.
Right. The Telegraph are reporting that Villa have opened talks with Boubacar Kamara about a new deal. He's the 25-year-old French midfielder.
Kamara has become a real key player for Villa, hasn't he? He's got that blend of defensive solidity and composure on the ball that every team needs.
He's really added something to their midfield, and it makes sense for them to try and tie him down to a new contract, doesn't it?
It does, especially with Unai Emery in charge now. He's building a team capable of challenging for European places, and Kamara's a big part of that plan.
It shows the importance of stability, doesn't it? Keeping hold of your best players, building that core that can take the club forward.
It's about creating that winning mentality, that sense of continuity, and that starts with keeping your most influential players happy and committed.
And finally for today, let's head south once again to Crystal Palace, where there are some interesting developments regarding their manager, Oliver Glasner.
Right. Football Insider are reporting that Palace are in advanced talks with Glasner about a new contract, and this comes amid interest from RB Leipzig.
So Glasner, he's only been at Palace for a short time, but he's made a real impact, hasn't he?
He's got them playing some attractive football. They're well organized, they're tough to beat, and they're moving in the right direction.
And that's attracted attention from elsewhere, hasn't it? RB Leipzig, a big club in Germany with a reputation for developing young talent.
So it's understandable that Glasner might be tempted by that opportunity, but Palace will be desperate to keep him, won't they?
They'll be well aware of how important managerial stability is to a club's long-term success. You only have to look at the likes of Klopp at Liverpool and Guardiola at Man City to see how a manager can transform a club's fortunes given time.
It's about building that connection with the players, the fans, the whole club, really. When you've got that alignment, everyone benefits.
So for Palace fans, they'll be hoping that Glasner commits his future to the club and continues the good work he started. But of course, anything can happen in football.
Exactly. That's the
Same.
beauty of it, isn't it? You never
Yeah.
quite know what's around the corner.
Yeah. Now, before we wrap things up, I just wanted to mention a great resource for those of you who want to stay up to date on all the latest football news and transfer rumors.
Oh, yeah. Which one is that?
It's a website called EPLNews.org. They've got all the latest news analysis and in-depth coverage of the English Premier League and European football.
Great website. I use it all the time myself. They do a great job of breaking down all the key stories and providing some really insightful commentary.
So if you're looking for that extra bit of insight or you just want to make sure you're not missing anything, EPLNews.org is definitely worth checking out.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so let's just take a moment to recap what we've covered in today's deep dive. We started with Tottenham and Atletico Madrid's interest in Christian Romero. Then we moved on to Everton and their efforts to keep Jared Branthwaite, who's also attracting interest from Manchester United.
We discussed Manchester United's potential pursuit of Ademola Lookman and Francisco Trincao. And then we shifted our attention to Arsenal.
We talked about their plans to offer Gabriel a new contract, Real Madrid's interest in William Saliba, and their battle with Liverpool for Joel Hato.
Then we touched on Aston Villa's contract talks with Boubacar Kamara and Crystal Palace's attempts to secure Oliver Glasner on a new deal.
So as you can see, there's a lot going on in the world of football transfers, and we've only just scratched the surface. But hopefully this deep dive has given you a clearer picture of some of the key storylines to follow as we head towards the summer transfer window.
It's important to remember, though, that these are just reports, speculation, rumors. Things can change very quickly in football.
Absolutely. So take it all with a pinch of salt, but it's still fun to speculate, isn't it? To imagine how these moves might play out and how they could impact the Premier League next season.
It's all part of the excitement of the game.
So we want to leave you with this thought. Which of the potential transfers or contract situations we've discussed today do you think would have the biggest impact on the Premier League next season, and why?
It's a tough question, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are so many variables to consider.
There are, but it's a great one to ponder, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can always find us on social media and let us know what you think.
Until next time, happy speculating.
And keep an eye on EPLnews.org for all the latest updates.